this a little bit. Nothing major to speak of. Thursday, long day at work. Let's just say that long day at work. Maybe one day I will tell everybody what all happened. Hello, all. Glad you could join us. I was hoping that would work. I had a little infographic or something in the lower right-hand corner there next to my sparkling horizontal text showing our follower goal. We just hit 250, I think. So, but yeah, it's not working. I'm looking. I've set an aggressive goal of 500 followers by July. I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not, but we'll see. We'll see. If anybody notices any issues with the stream, just let me know. Otherwise, we'll move along here. So Friday is actually a good and a bad thing for me. The good being that it is my wedding anniversary. The bad that it is also April Fool's Day, and I'm 43 years old, and I am over April Fool's Day. It just seems like every company out there wants to try to create. Seriously, right now? Oh my hell! Well, we may have another mama kitty sighting here in the next few minutes, but April 1st has always been one of those things where it's like I've learned to avoid the news and pretty much the internet at large because everybody tries to put out some little funny joke, but somebody always wants to take it a little too far. And considering the last 2 or 3 years, I'm kind of over it. So I've tended to avoid the news altogether, and come back afterwards and see what actually filtered out as being correct or incorrect in this case. So yeah, and my wedding anniversary, 17 years wedding anniversary. When we got married in 2005 on April 1st, of course, everybody thought it was a joke, April Fools, whatever. No, we eloped. In San Diego County Courthouse down there just off of Harbor and Grape, and my friends we still have witnessed for us got married for all of about $100. We did a deluxe wedding. Does the sound weird, or is it just me? Oh, crap. What does it sound like there, Zach? Thank you for joining. Appreciate that. Also, Dark Spider, Orthodox, and Rob, and Hades.exe, and SetchVN. I hope that it is, oh God, I hope that it is not let me double check my audio inputs here. I want to make sure that I'm using the right input here. Voice meter, okay. 1 second. Voice meter. Analog focus right. Okay. All my settings are correct. My speakers. Let me set everything up. All right. Give me a second. I may have to my audio here for a second. Okay. Hope the audio is better. If it is not, please let me know, and I will do what I can to address that. So, there we go. All right. Yeah. So got married, went to Long Beach to the Queen Mary and honeymooned, and it's been that way ever since. The upside is April Fools, I never miss my anniversary. So. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know if it was Voice Meter or whatever. So I'm using Voice Meter. I actually need to pay for it because I think I've used it enough that I need to stop being a freeloader and buy it. So, but thank you, execs. Thank you for coming. I don't know if that's how you pronounce your handle, but hope that you find some good out of this. So as an aside, we've had So I've started something a little different. I've been posting up in our Discord here, which you can join if you get an invite. Bang Discord. You get an invite. You can join our Slack if you'd like. We have a code of conduct. We have a ton of channels, including some game channels, which eventually we're going to be doing some role-playing type games on here. I think at some point, once Miss Berlin gets back from Iceland, we'll do some incident tabletop stuff, but we may also do some more traditional role-playing game stuff. We have various channels, offense, defense. We have an OSINT, SOC-Ing type channel where we have Joe Gray coming in quite a bit. He has a pay as much as you can offering for his SE and OSINT classes. We have a regular threat intelligence channel. So I tend to post a lot of stuff from Twitter that come up about IP addresses and other naughty bits. We have a job board as well. Got some, I need to actually post some stuff from the Slack channel over here. But yeah, if anybody's interested, come on in and join us. Still looking for level 3 on our Slack, on our Discord, so that we can get some additional, icons and stuff. I'm working on, getting people for that. If you're a booster, of course, if you boost with the Nitro stuff, you can get access to specific channels, or if you sub on Twitch, you get various channels dedicated to that. Or if you're on Patreon, certain levels of Patreon will get you access to channels as well. So just a thought there. And then, of course, we still have our Slack, which is fairly active. Number of channels there. It's less mature, even though it's almost 5 years old but we do have moderation and a COC and things like that. So I'm going to move that over for a second. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of news out there. The Spring Force shell that we talked about, I think on Wednesday. People are still trying to figure out how to use that. There's still some discussion on how, there's a lot of things that are required. I thought I had that link up. Where is that at? Let's see. Oh, there we go. It was Spring for Shell. Researchers are still trying to find real-world exploitable apps. Spring for Shell is one of those interesting ones where a lot of things have to be right in this case for it to work. But when it does, it's awesome. But as they said here, according to who's a Randori attack team, they said the system must be a specific combination of Tomcat, Java runtime, and Spring Framework versions to be potentially vulnerable. It must have all the right ingredients. However, to be vulnerable, the ingredients have to be used also in the right way, aka the code has to be implemented in a certain way. It is difficult to remotely identify the Spring Framework version, the team says, even when it is known. An attacker must also know valid endpoints that use the vulnerable pattern in its code. All of the above makes it unlikely that we will see anything similar to the scale of Log4j. I think that's an important takeaway here, where you have to have at least 3 different variables or 3 different correct versions of software. It's hard to do detection on which version of Spring is involved. And then, you've got to run all the code in a certain configuration for it to work. So it's unfortunate that we're seeing a named vulnerability like this there's nothing. I mean, it's going to take a lot to work with. So, yeah, it's so sad for Spring Force Shell. I'm sure the people who figured this out, are trying, tried their damnedest to have the next Log4j for clout or whatever it is they decided they wanted to name this for. But yeah, that is what it is. Yeah. So yeah, they said the security community has been having a huge struggle to find vulnerable applications in the wild. Compiled details about the Spring Force Shell vulnerability on GitHub. So there's a link to... There you go. There's that. It's all various different nodes. Looks like there's a timeline on here, which was really nice. Actually, it's being actively, redacted in some places. That's cool. Spring team did take it seriously, so that's cool. So, if you've updated to the latest version of Spring, you're already going to be, I would say, less vulnerable than somebody who hasn't patched yet, because you've, if there's a triangle here where you need to know the Java version and the the Tomcat version and the Spring version, if you're up, you could potentially, remove that vulnerability triangle there. So, but yeah, there's some decent instruction here. So, you can okay. So there is a validation POC that somebody has put in here. If you are interested in finding out if Spring4Shell, let's say your management was like, we need to know if we're vulnerable to this. Well, there is a RCE vulnerable app that has been created from Lunasec. So pop that in the link as well. There we go. And if anybody's interested, they can go check those things out. Ooh, they've even got a Dockerized version right here. That's nice. Okay, very cool. All right, so yeah, if you want to just tinker around with Spring4Shell, there's 3 examples right there for you to play with if you'd like to. So please feel free to go check that out. Links are in the chat. I will also post them up in our Discord just in case people forget them or miss them. So let me see, threat intelligence, Spring4Shell POC, GitHub with vulnerable apps. Doink. There we go. There we go. Very cool. All right. It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. Not to quote Mr. Rogers, but yeah, it's like mid-50s Fahrenheit, about 16 C here. No, about 14 C. So hope everyone is having a good day and taking care of yourselves. They were quick to say that there may be. I mean, now that we're seeing, subsystems like the Log4, Log4j, Spring. We may see additional vulnerabilities popping up out of this because people do like to play around with Java. There's a lot of subsystems inside of Java to play with that are very complex, and they do have a ton of information in this write-up. This was actually a pretty good discussion on VentureBeat. Normally, I don't spend a lot of time on VentureBeat, but this was a good article about it. Looks like some real work had been put into making this happen. And as you can see, it's only the most quality of logos, so you got that going for you. All right, so close that. Let me see, what did we say here? Oh, I saw this one. This was kind of an interesting story, and I was reading through it. I actually did read through this one. An IT service giant admits that $42 million fallout from a ransomware attack. Now, I'm thinking, wow, $42 million, that's, kind of a big deal. This happened on April 1st, of course, so I didn't read it. I didn't read it until today. But so there's a business process outsourcing, or mostly customer relationship management and what have you. Last October, so that would be October 2021, cyber attack on its Brazilian subsidiary. And the time the firm claimed to have quickly identified the threat, isolated the systems. Okay, obviously it didn't sound like it was reported. Maybe let me see. It may have been, but it was on PR Newswire, so I'm not sure how much word it got. Yeah, so leading companies detected cybersecurity attacks. So they put it out on a PR Newswire, but I don't know how much. I don't remember it happening. So one of the other things they said here, $34.8 million in lost revenue due to the disruption, and a further $7.3 million in costs allocated to additional detection, prevention, and remediation measures. But if you scroll down to the bottom here, it says, oh, was this the other dot? Oh, this was the other one, I think. My point was on Cognizant, not so much. So this article led me to the other article about, Cognizant and Norsk Hydro and Sopra Steria. Cognizant got hit for $70 million in terms of its, but the firm announced $4.2 billion in revenue in just the first quarter of 2020. This ransomware happened in May of 2020. 4.2 billion in the first quarter of 2020. So 50 to 70 million dollars is not going to hurt it at all in this case. And I was wondering about that because, we talk about the losses involved with companies, getting these ransomware attacks and the real damage involved. And, it's like you've got, I don't want to use a real company because I don't know if they've been hit or not, but let's say, Cognizant, for instance, is a fairly big company, and they did admit to having a ransomware attack. You have a company making billions of dollars, and they're saying that they only lost $70 million to this. They did not pay the attackers, I think, just like the first group did, said that they had not paid the ransomware attackers, so they lost $40 million. That's a drop in the bucket, right? It's a rounding error, in that case. So how much real damage was done, we don't know. Obviously, they believe that the $40 million that they lost is all of the damage. One of the things that I've had to deal with vendors, especially in countries not in the U.S., is let me see, how do I put this? They're the only game in town, or they're the best of the people in that country, and they're still not following all of the requirements in that case. Yeah, I think that's probably safe to say. I've seen it a lot. Healthcare companies, for instance, it's like, why do you choose to partner with those people? And the answer that I get from vendors who have to use them is, well, they're the only game in town, and they're the best of the worst. In that case, is the wording that I got from them. And so, this is one of those things, and I'm not saying they're the worst, but if they're the only game in town, you are forced to work with them because there's no other option. Or they're the ones that have failed the least, or have the least worst security posture, or you've already worked with the other group and they got breached really bad, so you've got to go to this group because now it's like there's a crisis of confidence. So it's interesting when we see these kinds of stories and we hear, many millions of dollars have been in lost revenue, but they're a $4.2 billion industry or company, or they make a ton of money, so this is a rounding error. So are they hurt by that? I don't know, but it sounds like they made $7.3 million in additional protection measures. So somebody in that company has gotten a rise in their security or IT contract, or budget in this case. One of the downsides about eating celery, you get that like anise flavor at the end. Anise, A-N-I-S-E. Not the other thing. Yeah. So, Cognizant. Thank you, Gladius. I appreciate it. I appreciate you understanding my point there. So yeah, I was looking at the other ones that they had mentioned here that had been hit up. This was in November of 2020. They assume they lost between 40 and 50 million, although 30 million will be covered by cyber insurance. So this must have been before cyber insurance decided to start thinking about, due diligence and due care, and, are they actually, securing the data and making sure that things are secure. So one other thing before we go. I know people love them some PCI. PCI 4.0 is coming. Who knew? Mr. Betcher and I, we used to work, I think we were on version 3. 3 was the new hotness back when version 3, of course, came out a little while ago. Let me see, 2010, 2013. Yeah, version 3 came out while we were both working at the one joint we were at. So, that was the new hotness. If any of you are dealing with PCI 3.21 right now, Just know that 321 will be available until 31 March 2024. But start planning now, because you're gonna see your auditors coming in a year, and if you want to go with 321 versus 4.0, you need to start budgeting. You need to start thinking about technology you're going to have to implement, and the changes in between 3.2 and 4.0. Let me see. Some of the big changes included. Let me make this a little bigger for everybody. Increased security requirements. I think they said forced MFA if you're going to be accessing cardholder data. Let me see. What was the... Yeah, here we go. Changes in PCI DSS 4.0, updated technology, firewall terminology to network security controls, support a broader range of technologies used to meet the security objectives met by firewalls. Expansion of requirement 8. So requirement 8 was the password section. It was like, that was one of the biggest things that I always had about PCI was like, oh, you're real generic in the other, 7, 8, 9, sections, but section 8 is nothing but setting passwords and password difficulty and history and, setting minimum password requirements. Well, they're also adding MFA to the mix. So if you're going to access anything in the cardholder data environment, MFA is going to be a requirement, which is kind of a big deal, I guess. Especially if you don't have anything in the first place. So our reliance on Okta and other SSO related solutions are going to only increase in this case. So that'll give you some pause, won't it? If they're forcing MFA, you either go with somebody who's recently been owned, or you look to a Duo, or try to roll your own federated login, or some other system by which you can do it. I mean, you could use tokens, I guess. You could use Yubico. You could use a soft token or hard token in this case. Like some other second factor that isn't a password in this case. So if you've got something on your phone or whatever, that's something to do. Increased flexibility for organizations to demonstrate how they're using. Oh my God. Okay, so I haven't read all 4 of these. This is awesome. That's great, because it is obvious with the amount of technology that is out there right now that the QSAs, at least the QSAs I had to deal with, and Mr. Betcher had to deal with on our podcast, audio podcast, Brian Betcher. The QSAs who came in, when they would come in, always had a specific way they wanted to see things done. And I don't know if they got them in trouble, but when we would show them how we're doing things to satisfy requirements, depending on the QSA you got, it was a my way or highway kind of thing. It was like, you're going to do it this way because this is the way, and what it boiled down to was, this is the way we understand that it meets the requirements, so you're going to do it this way, which was wholly untenable in some cases. We had to spend additional time explaining to them how our system also satisfies these requirements without, us having to put in a bunch of stuff that is antiquated in some cases. And this is going to put extra stress on the QSAs, because they're going to have to stay up to date on, all the new methods of doing things. I mean, containers and, using containers and, software defined networking, in a PCI environment. 3.0, I don't think had that kind of language in there for it. So understanding those in terms of, access requirements and what have you, kind of painful for some QSAs that aren't up with the technology. So you could definitely see, and some of it might be, well, I want to make sure that they're actually doing what's necessary, so they have to understand the security controls in place. So it either meant more documentation from the client side, or the QSAs or whoever the organization was understanding the technology enough that they didn't have to be explained by the customer. And then addition of targeted risk analyses to allow entities the flexibility to define how frequently they perform certain activities as best suited for their business needs and exposure. That's another great one too, because there are certain requirements in PCI that don't make a lot of sense to be done at scale. It's almost like in some points on the PCI compliance requirements, it was, some of these things only worked if you were a small company, or in the inverse, if you were a major organization like an Amazon or something like that had dozens and dozens of people who could just stare at logs all day, or be able to do those things. So what's good is being able to target and have additional risk analysis for these entities to go, okay, you're a smaller organization, you don't have a dedicated SOC, but you can, doing these things, the problem with risk analysis is it's really an opinion, right? So the smaller organization may feel that they're doing enough, and the QSA will also feel the risk analysis is incorrect. So it may be incumbent on a third party, independent of the QSA, to come in and say, based on our experience with a certain level of company, this is how the best way it is to do that. But the upside is if you do PCI regularly with your compliance folk, you've got 2 years, and start planning for it now. Apparently this is supposed to launch at the end of March. So we're about as end of March, 1st of April as you can get. So let's see if they're available. Let's go see if it's available for folks. And of course, there's going to be spreadsheets out there mapping 321 to 40 if you need that information. Let me see. Here's your ROC template for 40. AOC extra form for service providers. I wonder. Oh, here's PCI 40 at a glance. There you go. I can't guarantee there's anything good in here, but interesting discussion there about that. Yeah, I wonder how this is going to affect other data requirements, like say SOC or things like that. So how that will affect others. These changes are theoretical and won't know full extent of PCI DSS until the full standards are released to the public. So it's slated for March 2022 publication. So yeah, go check that out. And that strikes me as something that shouldn't be shown on the page. Interesting that. I don't know what that ID does, but yeah. Interesting. They use WordPress at least, so there's an OSINT breakdown there for you. This was a 15-year-old vulnerability in Pair PHP repository. Could have enabled supply chain attacks. Seems like I don't know anybody who used the Pair repository. I'm sure that I'm assuming it's very similar to how Python pip was or is. Looks like there was a code commit made in March 2007 when the feature was originally implemented. Allow an attacker to discover a valid password reset token in less than 50 tries. Okay. I think that there was probably not the same type of supply chain thought back in 2007 as there is now. If PHP was more popular nowadays, it might actually be a thing. So if PHP had won the language market and was like JavaScript or like Node or any of the other JavaScript frameworks out there, this might have been a bigger issue. So they did issue, susceptible to a directory transversal bug. We've talked a little bit about that in Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. Leads to arbitrary code execution. So there's 2 vulnerabilities. You have to chain it with the aforementioned flaw. So this is the thing we were talking about. This is a medium find, or it's a high findings technically, 7.5. But it needs to have this other vulnerability involved to make it happen. So there's definitely a chain of vulnerabilities needed to make it happen. So if any of you use PHP pair, patch your PHP implementation. So there you go. All right. Just looking through some other stuff. Bleeping Computers week of ransomware. They were talking about Python ransomware targeting Jupyter notebooks. I love how they bury the lead here. They're like, oh, it's a popular tool used by data practitioners. What does that mean? If I didn't know what a Jupyter notebook was, what is a data practitioner, in that case? So, yeah. I actually went in to see, if there was something else there that I could talk about with Jupyter notebooks. If you know them, you love them, I guess. So I haven't had no experience with them at all, so I do not have an understanding of those. So one of our chat folk here in the Slack had turned me on to, because we're doing the bug bounty stuff in Hack the Box. Vicky Lee has written a book called The Bug Bounty Boot Camp, and so this is kind of up the same line as what we're doing in Hack the Box, but I thought about giving away a book, like a gifting away a book if we have some, a tier 3 subscriber actually do something. Give a free book away if somebody is interested in doing so. If I get a tier 3 subscriber right now, then in this session or in the next week or so, I'll definitely give away a No Starch Press book gift certificate if anybody's interested in that. And but yeah, I've actually reached out to Vicky to see if we could get her to come on the show, come on the stream too. If anybody, she's got an excellent blog here with a new write-up, of course, of Spring for Shell and some other vulnerability cheat sheets for Angular and React, and looks like she's hip deep in various types of cheat sheets for frameworks. So go take a look at that. And if you'd like to have her on the stream, send her a nice message. Don't roll up in her DMs, being all evil and stuff. Just say, hey, Brian would love to have you on the show, have you on the stream, if you're interested, that kind of thing. So, all right, get into Hack the Box. I'm going to hide my screen here for a second. Oh, no, I don't have to. Okay. All right, so we are going into the Academy. I thought I'd already logged in. There we go. Hidey, hidey, ho. Hidey, 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 hi. There we go. Unhide. Make sure I'm open. Okay, good. That makes me mad. I need my follower counter on there. I don't know why it's not working. Stream Elements failed me. So we're 10.3% general and no defensive and no offensive. 10.34% general. That's the story of my life. I actually was told that being a generalist in InfoSec is a bad thing, and that it would limit my employability. 5 years later, I worked at that company for 3.5 years before moving on. So the same person who told me that then decided to hire me. So it was kind of an interesting thing. What? Man, this is worse than Bejeweled. Dang it. Web proxies. Oh, we're getting into real stuff now. For those of you, I finished because there wasn't really much to it in this case for the web. What was it? Introduction to web applications. Not to belabor the point. I'll go back and go through some of these, but there really wasn't much in the way of issues there. Let me see. How do I get back to the sections? Modules. Let's go to the modules. Owned modules. What? Web requests. Introduction to web applications. By the way, while I'm searching around here, if you are not on MT Taggart's stream or not following him, you should definitely take the time to do so. That guy, I am thoroughly entertained every time I join his stream. I snuck in. I joined him for about an hour today while I was troubleshooting some of my own issues, and he spent a good time walking through his home lab, setting up, the entire environment, IIS, everything to do web shells, including LAMP configuration, configuring everything all the way down to the packer and the configuration management tools they use to build the devices or the hosts that would be vulnerable for this thing. I mean, so methodical, and he definitely puts on a good stream. So I am not, I'm envious, but in a good way, that there's excellent content out there like this. So if you are interested in, a stream talking about all those kinds of things, including some code discussion, because I would say, as I call it full stack, because it looks like he's doing everything from IT administration to programming and such. But go check him out on Twitch. He just did a couple hours earlier today, so go check that out if you have the chance. I'll put a link up in our chat here if you're interested. So, well, it's enough to know that there wasn't much in the way of labs in here that was not difficult. One of them was like, enumerate user, you're logged in as user 0. So there was some in the IDOR exercise, you just had to, ID equals 1 instead of ID equals 0. So this section was not overly difficult. I actually had a screenshot that I took of this, but introduction to web applications it's easy for a reason. So if you have any questions or you're going through it and you want to go back to it at some point, we can definitely do so. But I just want to continue moving along with web proxies, because apparently this one is a little more difficult. So we're definitely going to get into Zap and Burp on this. So that's going to be fun. All right, so let's see. Intro to web proxies. Most modern web and mobile applications work by continuously connecting to backend servers to send and receive data, then processing this data on the user's device, like web browsers and mobile phones. With most applications relying heavily on backend servers to process data, backend servers are quickly becoming more important. That makes sense. Testing web requests make up the bulk of web application pen testing, which includes concepts that apply to both mobile and web applications. To capture requests and passing traffic between applications, we need to use web proxies. So web proxies in this case, there are 3 that I know of. Burp, Intruder, or Burp, and Burp Suite in this case, made by Portswigger. Zap, which is OWASP Zap, Z Attack Proxy. Z Attack Proxy, right? Most of these will be found in your friendly neighborhood pen testing system. There's also one called Fiddler, which not a lot of people either know about or use. Fiddler, not Fiddler on the Roof. Good God. Fiddler, yeah, there you go. Made by Telerik. There is a free version of this. Fiddler Tools. Fiddler Core. I think that's it. No, that's not it. The interesting thing about Fiddler is it uses .NET instead of Java to work with. So if you are somebody who's extremely against, let's see, Can I do Fiddler Community Edition? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, download Fiddler everywhere. Yeah, it looks like it comes in OS X and Linux now too. Great. Okay. Oh, that's because .NET's been ported to Linux and to Mac OS. So they give you a 30-day free trial. Oh, that's trashy. Okay, download Fiddler Classic. Please tell me you can still use it for free. Why? Oh, God. Let me see what it takes to download this shite. Bob@bob.com. As you can see, I'm very much a fan of that. Territory US, Colorado, not really. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that's easy enough. Yeah, so just put in a fake email and whatever if you want to stay off of there. Hey, tell it. Let me tell you more about our paid version of this and whatever. The last time I used Fiddler, it was very much still free and it was very powerful, very very similar to Burp in that, and you didn't need to use Java to make it run, which is something I made a joke with in McTaggart's this morning, that it's Java is the only reason InfoSec people actually still need to because they use Burp and OWASP Zap. It's the only reason you still need Java on your system. So, but those are the two that they're going to talk about, Burp and Zap here. But Fiddler is another one if you decide you don't want to use those, and it does have a different interface than Burp and Zap, and even there's a lot of differences between Burp and Zap as well. So Zap is completely free. They don't have a paid model like Burp does. Burp has a community edition, which for all intents and purposes is completely usable with the exceptions. I think there's like some speed issues with some of the repeater bits, or you can't use all of the plugins that they have in the marketplace unless you have a paid version. If anybody else is using the paid version of Burp, I think there's some collaboration tools as well. So if any of you watching me have the paid version of Burp, I'm sure you can highlight any other items that are not available, or as we go down through this, we'll see other things that they'll mention it in here. So uses of web proxies. Well, the primary use of a web proxy is to capture and replay requests. They have many other features that enable different uses for web proxies. The following list shows some of the other tasks we may use web proxies for. So code review, web config testing, request analysis, application mapping, crawling, fuzzing, and vuln scanning. Yes, Burp does have a vuln scanner now. I didn't use it a lot when I was pen testing, because at the time I was using Burp for web app testing, it didn't exist. There was no web scanner. So Burp Suite, which pronounced Burp Suite. Okay. It's the most common web proxy for web penetration testing. They may not mention it in here. I don't know if they will, but there are some browser plugins that you can use as well. There's things like tamper data. There's plugins to modify header information, and then of course you also have the web developer console, which will do some of these things that Burp and Zap does, not to the same level. Web interception proxies is definitely not something that I believe that the console can do. But like tamper data and those will intercept requests made, and I believe will intercept the request coming back if you are doing things like trying to modify things going back to the client after they've been sent out by the server. There are browser plugins for that, but Burp and Zap are definitely developed for doing this exact thing. It is a customized or a specialized tool versus things like what tamper data does. There you go. Some of the paid features for Burp Suite. Active web app scanner, faster Burp intruder, ability to load certain Burp extensions. So there you go. That was that they said it more succinctly than I did. The free version should be enough for most testers, right? You start more advanced pen testing. Pro features may come in handy. Most of the features we include in this module are available in the community free version of Burp Suite. Considering this is the bug bounty track that they're trying to push people with, ideally most bug bounty hunters are doing this on the cheap in some cases, or doing it as a side gig. So, 300 or how much ever it is now for a Burp Suite license may be a bit expensive for somebody. And you may find out $300 is really not worth just these things. There are a lot of free extensions you can add to your free version of Burp that extends the functionality quite well. Or conversely, a Grease Monkey script, or there's Tamper Monkey scripts available that can do things as well. So there's a myriad of things you can do without necessarily having to buy software. Or you can just use Z-Attack Proxy, which is completely free and completely open. Rehash of Zap provides basic and advanced features utilized for pen testing. Certain strengths over Burp, which we'll cover in the module. The advantage of Zap over Burp is free open source project, which means it will not face throttling or limitations in scans. They're only lifted with paid subscription. Growing community of contributors. Zap is gaining many of the paid only features of Burp for free. Right. Okay. Setup. Both Burp and Zap are available for Windows, Mac OS, and any Linux distro. They're already installed, and that's the reason why is because it runs in Java. They both run in Java. So both are already installed in your Pwn box and can be accessed from the bottom dock or top bar menu. Both tools are pre-installed on common pen testing distros like Parrot and Kali. You can also go just to PortSwigger, the download page, which is right here, portswigger.net. Download the community version, and if you're super paranoid, you can check the checksums against the checksums on the website. You can view the checksums for the application. Here's the SHA-256 and the MD5 ones. And it has following, and the changelog is available. So, they do update it semi-regularly. So as you can see, they had a March release and then they had a 0.1 release. So that means there was a minor fix here. Apparently Burp Repeater had some issues. When manually following redirections, you no longer get stuck in an infinite redirect loop. Oh, I can see that. The cursor in the message editor no longer jumps at the beginning of the request after you send it. Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, they do put out regular releases, as you can see. They put out four releases for February, 5 releases for February. And yeah, so it just depends on minor bug fixes, or they actually add functionality. This release is not providing added implements some background changes for future release, which will brand new option for deploying Kubernetes using a Helm chart. I understand Kubernetes, but I don't know what a Helm chart is. So there you go. Okay. Okay, so it looks like there may be some AWS-related deployment things that you can do. Enterprise Edition. Okay, so the Enterprise Edition runs on some kind of AWS cloud formation. So if you need to do pen testing using, Burp Suite Enterprise, then you'll know exactly what all this is. So, all right. Yep. So, typing Burp Suite, you can download the jar file, which is a Java archive, which can be used on all operating systems with a JRE installed, Java runtime environment, in the above downloads page. We can run it along with the command line or by double clicking it. So Java jar, So the issue I have with some Java programs is the memory requirements get fairly large. So you might run this as they suggest, but if you're running on a VM or a low RAM system, you might want to limit the amount of RAM that it actually uses. It may slow the system down once it's reached to that point, but it'll also, Java tends to take up a lot of memory unless they've actually done their proper garbage disposal and, set up those things. So yeah, you've got the free version, of course. You can save your existing projects. You can actually, set a project file. So this is if you need to share between, security assessors, or you want to keep these files to give to your client, to show them, because this is a good way of creating test cases for folks. So like if you say, well, I've got cross-site scripting here, here's the Burp Suite project that I used, and you can scroll down and you can look at the request that was done, and you set this up in your automated test platform to run this request with these parameters or what have you. You can and then actually there's some companies that are like, we want all the data from your pen test, including all of what you did, all of the requests that you sent. So there may actually be a requirement for you to save this information in a project file, or some way that it makes it easier for you to do so. Right, we may need to save our progress if we're pen testing a huge application, running a web scan. We may not need to save our progress and can start a temporary project every time. I've never actually loaded any kind of specifics. I've always used the burp defaults, which always seem to be fairly good. When I took the web application pen test course with SANS, the instructor at the time, Kevin Johnson, friend of ours, friend of the show, did spend some time going through doing things like turning off certain HTTP codes that are not useful, or enabling certain logging that gives for better output. There are some settings, if you have taken the 542 class, that really highlight the power of Burp Suite in this case. And that was back in 2017. So it has changed greatly during that time. And SANS also has their own pen testing distro that they use for, not hack the box, but 542 pen testing courses, etc. Obviously, because they can't use Kali in that respect. So once we start heavily utilizing Burp's features, we may want to customize configurations and load them when starting Burp. Yeah, so I mean, if you have a certain way you like the output every time, you may want to keep a default file or something like that where you can work through these items. We can download Zap also from its download page, which is here. As you can see, they have a cross-platform package, which I believe is just the jar file. Or it's a zip, but it's probably a jar. Most of the files contain default functionality. You can add any more by going to Zap Marketplace, right? Yeah, so Zap has a marketplace, active scanner rules, scanner rules, access control testing, Ajax Spider, alert filters, all-in-one notes, simple extension to view all notes in one pane. Yeah, wow, okay. They got a ton of stuff. DOM XSS scanner, encoder, it does encoding, decoding, hash dialog. Oh, excuse me. Eval villain. As the eval villain extension to Firefox when launched from Zap. There you go. All right. So there's a ton of stuff in here, and wow. Okay. That's not just all of them. You can actually create your own extensions for that. Oh, I do apologize. I didn't know where that came from. Mac OS includes Java 11, so if you download the Mac version, it's a little bit bigger for obvious reasons. You have to download the Java executable for it. So, all right. To get Zap, once Zap starts up, unlike the free version of Burp, we'll be prompted to create a new project or temporary. Let's use temporary project by choosing no's. We will not be working on a large project. They'll need to persist for several days. After that, we can continue the proxy setup process, as we'll discuss in the next section. If you prefer to use a dark theme, well, who doesn't? All real hackers use dark theme, right? So you may do so in Burp by going to the user options display or by tools options display. So flat dark. There you go. All right, but we're just flying through this. I'm gonna hit a wall eventually. It's gonna be like Wile E. Coyote, just pow. Now that we've set up and started both tools, we'll learn how to use the web proxy feature. We can set these tools up as a proxy for any application, including all such web requests that should be routed through them, so that we can manually determine what web requests an application is sending and receiving. This will enable us to better understand what the application is doing in the background and allow us to intercept and change these requests or reuse them with various changes to see how the application responds. Okay, good. To use the tools as web proxies, we must configure our browser proxy settings to use them as the proxy or the pre-configured browser. Both tools have a pre-configured browser. Did I download Burp Suite? I thought I downloaded Burp Suite. So just as an aside, there is a Burp Suite Academy. One of my friends, Wimmery, had been running through some of those Burp Suite Academy bits. So I'm not sure how deep they're going to get in on Burp here, but they do have a really great, let's see, Portswigger Academy. Yeah, so they have the one reason I didn't do the Portswigger Academy stuff was because our friend Wimmery was already doing that. So I was going to suggest everybody go over and do some of the exercises with her as she's starting through. So she's gone through, I think, SQL injection, some of the authentication stuff. But yeah, they have a ton of things as well. So they have multiple labs. Basically, you watch a video. One of the people from Portswigger does the video, and then they have a machine that you can go to and basically interrogate or poke at with using Burp to find the answers. So, but yeah, this is an excellent bit there as well. Yeah, and then they have client-side topics, cross-site scripting, CSRF, cores, clickjacking, DOM-based WebSockets. Then they have some advanced stuff like deserialization, insecure deserialization, server-side templates, cache poisonings, header attacks, smuggling, which is the new hotness, one of the best ones that I've seen so far. OAuth authentication, and then they actually have a certification. So if you get deep into it enough that you want to, you can get involved and be a certified practitioner of Burp. So yeah, so in order to become, you'll need to undertake a 4-hour exam. Consists of multiple practical challenges designed to test your knowledge of vulnerabilities. So, so there you go. If you, I mean, that one is a little different than like if you were, what was the one that they wanted me to get? Certified network. It was whatever Tenable's like vulnerability management cert was. There was a certified network scanning associate or something like that. It was just like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't need a Nessus certification. That's not going to help me in my career at all. But if you're trying to find your way into InfoSec, doing some of these exercises and getting good with Burp, having this probably would be, showing that you actually know what you're doing, because there's a practical exam on this, including the challenges. So just a thought there. I don't know if Zed has anything similar, but there's a lot of stuff on OWASP that I had so much stuff in OWASP, but yeah. Like in many cases, we want to use a real browser for pen testing, like Firefox, Safari, Brave, Edge, Chrome. I mean, all the browsers will work similarly. Like it said, any app, you can funnel traffic through the web proxy tools on Burp. It doesn't even have to be a browser in this case. I think you could probably even use curl as long as you set a proxy for it. I'm sure there's proxy settings in that where you could just say, I want to curl everything through Burp, and then use it that way as well. To use Firefox for our web proxy tools, we must configure them to use as the proxy. Go to our Firefox preferences and set up the proxy browser. They all, I believe, they have Foxy Proxy installed on the machines themselves. So let's go bring that up here. Foxy Proxy is a good one. Which one do I use here? Remove cookies for the site. CocoaCut, Calendly, Tamper Monkey. I must have removed it. All right. Interact. So we're on hacking all the boxes. This is the Burp Suite, I think, up here, isn't it? No, that's Sublime. Oh, really, Sublime. Oh, that's a throwback, isn't it? Applications. Let's see. So there's your Firefox pen testing. Most used tools. There you go. Most used tools. It's under Burp Suite. So, yep. Your JRE appears to be fully. Okay, great. See, I'm a bad person. I did not read the entire error message. I probably should have. We impress upon our users to do the exact same thing that I didn't do there. So, always try to read through those and make sense. And then of course, no, not that. Oof. All right, so we got the browser window up. You see the Foxy proxy here. So you got options. You see the burp port 8080. Go to options. There you go. So you can actually go in and set specific proxies for specific things. I believe you can actually also say, well, I don't know about this one. It used to be where you could say, well, if it was this URL, don't use the proxy. But if it was, yeah, I don't think so. You can set up different kind of proxies. So if you were using Z on one and burp on another, you could set potentially you could have burp suite on 8080 and Z attack proxy on 8081, for instance, or 8088 or something like that. And you don't even have to use burp. Any kind of proxy will work. They have all these different kinds of proxies. WPAD, which is Windows Proxy. WPAD, WPAD. Auto Discovery Protocol, there you go. Yeah. Proxy Auto Discovery, yeah. So even, I don't even know what pack URL is, but if you have a pack URL proxy, you could use that one too. SOCKS 4 and 5. I used that Squid proxy. Yeah, Squid proxy back in the day when I was routing traffic back from my workplace when I was a little hacker trying to get around the firewall rules in my my office. So don't ask me why. I'd probably get fired again from that company that I don't work at anymore. I don't know why I did that. I should have left that open, but all right. So in case we wanted to serve web proxies on a different port, we can do that under that. They use Foxy proxy. Go to the extensions page and add to Firefox. Once we have the extension added, we can configure the web proxy by clicking on the icon and then choosing options. Like they said here, you can just put a title or description. That way you know which one you're using. IP address will be loopback 127.0.0.1. You can make that any number, I believe, in the 127 address range. So you can make it 127.127.127.127. Loopback is a /8. So currently. So yeah, it should work with any 127 dot address up to 254. So yeah, and then if your proxy had a username and a password, you could add those as well and save that. And then you got, like we saw down there, you just go to burp zap for all URLs. Oh yeah, this is another good one. Yeah, this is, yeah. So when using burp or zap, you have to install the proxy's CA cert. If you don't, some HTTP traffic won't route properly. Or we may need to accept every time Firefox needs to send an HTTP request. There's actually some websites will actually notice if you're using burp and block you, even because technically you're performing a host in the middle attack or an app in the middle attack by using burp. So you're using the internet as it was not intended. We can install the burp certificate once we select burp. You can go and download it and incorporate it in. This was always thing, I don't know why. I always had issues with it, getting it implemented back in the day. But once you get it in, it's like solid. It's fine. Maybe they've made it easier. I don't know. Yeah, so this is nice. This is actually step-by-step instructions on how to do it. Okay, so dynamic SSL certs. Okay, so that's new. The dynamic SSL certs. Then you have your authorities, and you import, and then trust the CA for email and website. So PortSwigger CA is the deal. And then once you install it, then you should be able to route all your traffic through your web proxy. Okay, now that we've set up our proxy, we can intercept and manipulate HTTP requests sent by web application we're testing. So in Burp, we can navigate to the proxy tab, and the request interception should be on by default, right? That gets kind of annoying, especially if you're trying to open a web browser and actually to search for something like google.com or what have you. Turning interception off is, I don't want to say a good idea. So if you're in Hack the Box and you're using Burp Suite, let me refresh. The problem is if you're like, let's say you're stuck on something and you're inside Kali and you have your Burp Suite running. If you don't, let's close that. Set this for temp. Okay, starting project. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? My cat is trying to let me know that the door's shut. Proxy. Oh, right. Proxy. There it is. Okay. So intercept is on. So you get all these, you have to forward these, detect portal. All right. So, if you try to go to Google or something like that, I need to do a quick search for something. You're going to get a ton of stuff coming through. I mean, and you may get a ton of redirects, or you may get a bunch of stuff like that. Obviously, I didn't have the CA cert put in, so we'll burn that when we come to it. But so they talk about navigating the proxy tab, intercept requests. You can click it on and off, and then what you can do is go back in to the history and see which one you want to get, and you can actually filter. So if you know that detect portal.firefox is extremely annoying, you can actually go in and filter those requests out so that they won't show up anymore. You can say remove those. You can remove certain modifications or responses. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff you can do with this. So. All right. Once we return request interception on, we can start a pre-configured browser and visit our target website. Right, and then it will show you. It shows you everything that we see when we go into the web developer console. So, right. So we're seeing. Okay, let me turn off interception here. I'll need to set up the CA cert stuff. The problem is every time you kill the HTTP instance, you're going to have to go back in and reset up all that stuff over and over again, which is going to be painful. You're going to get really good at setting CA certs if it takes you longer than one session to get through this, which it's going to for this. So probably the next session that we do, I'll make sure that I have all of that set up and ready to go before we get started. So if you're following along with me, a little bit of prep work will be needed. So. But in Zap, interception is off by default. It's shown by the green button. That's because it's kind of annoying. Because many's the time I've been trying to do something and I was like, oh crap, interception is on. Dang it. Okay, now I gotta go back in and do it again. Then we can start the pre-configured browser and revisit the exercise page. We'll see the intercepted request in the top right. We can click on the step. Right next to the red break button. BREAK, not BRAKE, to forward the request. Zap also has a powerful feature called heads-up display. Ironically enough, McTaggart today was talking about Zap's heads-up display actually disables that. I don't have a lot of experience with Zap, so I couldn't tell you whether or not it's good. Just one data point. McTaggart, removes it from his when he's doing this stuff. So just a heads up there. I'm assuming the heads up displays all this extraneous stuff on the side here, kind of like little pop outs or what have you. Yeah, the HUD has many features we'll go through in the module for intercepting requests. We click on the second button from the top on the left to turn interception requests on. So that would be, I'm assuming, the on break here. Yeah, second button from the top on the left panel, right? I mean, there's a lot to that. I mean, one of the things that you get used to, either you're going to split screen it, where you're going to have burp over here and your browser over here, or vice versa. You're always going to have to switch back and forth between burp and, oh, did that work? Okay, let's go see. If it does it, if Zap will do it, and show you what's happening without you having to switch back and forth between the browser and the app, might save you a little time. If you are typically working on a 2-week engagement or something like that, every minute counts. So now, once we refresh the page or send another request, the HUD will intercept the request presented to us for action. Oh, so it just pops it right over the top of the. Oh, very nice. We can choose to send the request and examine its response and break any further requests. We can choose to continue and let this page send the remaining requests. The step button is helpful when we want to examine every step of the page's functionality, while continue is useful when we're only interested in a single request and can forward the remaining request once we reach our target request. Okay. Yeah, so the Hack the Box suggests going through the HUD tutorial. Even if you do not grasp everything, the upcoming sections should cover whatever you missed. If you do not get the tutorial, you can click on the configuration button in the bottom right and choose Take the HUD tutorial. There you go. Manipulating intercepted requests. Once we intercept the request, it will remain hanging until we forward it. We can examine the request, manipulate it, any changes we want. One of the things I always worried about when I was doing this was it timing out after a certain amount of time. If you sit there for too long, will the web server go, oh, this request has been sitting for, X number of minutes. One of the things I had to realize was, well, the request is only been submitted, but, it does take a little while, for it to work. So there are numerous applications in this web penetration testing. You search for all of these things. We've talked about some of them through TryHackMe, command injections, upload bypass, authentication bypass, cross-site scripting, XXE, error handling, deserialization, and many other potential web vulnerabilities. You can also, logic flaws are another thing you'll probably look for, which requires really a more nuanced hand, like a human, to be involved. The active scanner may not necessarily understand all the logic involved there. So here's what the request would look like. IP equals 1. You're going to get this inside of burp, so you may change it to IP equals 1000, or like down here where it says we're going to change the IP's value from 1 to semicolon ls semicolon. So what that'll do is run the query for the IP equals 1, and the semicolon will also, put a break in there and run that command. So if it's not configured correctly and your web application is not configured correctly, you will also get an ls of whatever the current directory is on the system. Right. So you got flag index, node modules, flag.txt, of course. There's your CTF flag for those of you looking for them. This demonstrates only a basic example of how the request interception manipulation can help with testing web apps for various vulnerabilities. It's an essential tool to be able to test different web applications effectively. Right, so we will not be covering specific web attacks in this module, but rather how the web proxies facilitate various methods of attack. Right. Other web modules in the HTTP Academy covers these attacks in depth. Okay, that's good to know. All right, try intercepting the ping request on the server shown above. Change the post data similarly to what we did in this section. Change the command to read flag.txt. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Thankfully, this is an HTTP site, not an HTTPS site, so I don't have to necessarily worry about with all the CA request stuff. So I'm going to clear the history. Let's see, clear history. Okay, yes, I would like to clear the history because I have no need for that. I'm not going to click on the URL bar because I learned the hard way the last time. There we go. All right, so we pinged the server. See, all right, so we let me see. I think you can just right click and yeah, see, the other good thing about these is you can highlight domains. So if you're looking for something specific, you could say, well, I wanna detect portal will, you should be able to highlight all of them and do that. But all right, so we need the get command. Okay, so here's the response and request in inspector. Let me go back and just like last time, let's read the entire message. Try intercepting the ping request on the server shown above. Change the post data similarly to what we did in this section. Change the command to read flag.txt. So, okay. Okay, favicon. All right, so close that. This is a different, okay, so ping your IP. Okay, so we're going to ping our IP 34.34.34. Seriously? I mean, what the hell? .34. Huh. Oh, I see. My bad. Okay. 127.0.0.5. Okay. Sweet. Okay. So here's ping. So here's the ping post. All right. So IP5. All right. So the IP was 5. And what we want to do is change this. Send it to intruder. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm not doing that right. All right, so and then we can send that. All right, let me back it up for a second. Oh, we gotta, yeah, it probably would have been better if I had actually intercepted things as we were supposed to. Let's go back to intercept. Intercept on. All right. So back it up. All right. So we'll set it to 23 this time, not 523. Technically, 523 should work. All right. So 23. And then specifically, it wants us to do like we did above, where we're doing it. So you see, ooh, okay, where you see the semicolon, ls semicolon. Okay. Semicolon, ls, semicolon, and then forward. Now, there we go. All right, so we got flag.text. So what we need to do is, let's shrink that up a little bit. There we go. All right, so we need to be able to view the file on the system. Change the command to read flag.text. Okay. Dying inside a little bit here. All right. Yep, I'm knocking some rust off. Thank you for whispering that to me. I do appreciate that. Okay, intercept is on. We're going to go backwards. I'm going to refresh the page. All right. Forward, 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 all the things. Okay, so we're going to put 78 this time. 78. There we go. Hit ping. All right, so there's 78. So we need to be able to view the file. So in this case, we'll want to say cat flag.text. I believe that will work. Cat being, okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, there we go. And then forward. Because when we ran ls, we ran the command for listing the files. So what we did there was see, there we go. So cat, running the cat command and the file name gives us encrypted in the middle as the flag name. So go back to the history and where is it? Post command. No, that's not it. Where's the other post command is right there. All right. Am I not at the top? Okay, I'll scroll down to the bottom. Nope. Okay, so which one had the all right, well, let's just do it in this order then. Okay. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, so it did not show me the output. All right, well, let me go ahead and copy that before I lose it, and then I'll have to go back through all that again. But did anybody have any questions about what I did there? The ls command obviously lists files in a directory on Linux. So the cat file or the cat command shows you, it's not concatenate, but it shows you files like open this file for reading, or read this file, or what have you. So for those of you new to Linux and stuff, so boom, there you go. Okay. Intercepting responses. In some cases, we may need to intercept the responses from the server before they reach the browser, right? So we're not getting them coming, we're getting them coming back. So sometimes the server will send a request based on what you send, but you want to be able to do something like, mess with the browser rendering like DOM XSS. Like if you might you might make changes to the server request that alters how the page is rendered in some cases. And apologies, this may come up down further in this in the doc here. Oh well, this can be useful when we want to change how a specific web page looks, like enabling certain disabled fields or showing certain hidden fields, which may help us in our penetration testing activities. There you go. So how the page is rendered. Also, we can see how we can achieve that with the exercise we tested in the previous section. In the previous exercise, the IP field only allowed us to input numerical values. If we intercept the response before it reaches our browser, we can edit it to accept any value, which would enable us to input the payload we used last time directly. In Burp, we can enable response interception by going to proxy options and enabling intercept response under the intercept server responses. So I'm going to have to, okay, so that was, where was that? Proxy options, intercept response. Proxy options. Come on. There we go. Oh, looks like they're already set up. No, that's WebSockets. Just make sure we got everything set up correctly. Set header response, TLS negotiations. Looks like that's correct. Client to server messages and server to client messages. Okay, so yeah, there's a okay. Yeah, intercept server. Okay, so it's on by default, right? Oh, I see. Master interception is turned off. Okay, based on the following rules. After that, we can enable request interception once more and refresh the page with Control-Shift-R in our browser to force full refresh. When we go back to Burp, we should see the intercepted request. We can click on forward. Once we forward the request, we'll see our intercepted response. Right. Let's try changing the type number on line 27 to type text, which should enable us to write any value we want. We can also change the max length 3 to max length 100 so we can enter longer input. Oh, very nice. Okay, max length 100, right. Now, once we click forward again, we can go back to Firefox to examine the edited response. Okay. As you can see, we could change the way the page is rendered by the browser and can now input any value we want. That was why I was having issues when I was trying to type in the whole IP address. We may use the same technique to persistently enable any disabled HTML buttons by modifying their HTML code. Exercise. Try using the payload we used last time directly within the browser to test how intercepting responses can make web application pen testing easier. All right. Let's go back to interception. Okay. Forward. So we're getting all the responses back from that. All right. So we go to ping. All right. So we're getting the forward request to ask for responses. All right. So now we type 23 again. I'm going to go and clear the history. Okay. So now we ping. All right. So the request goes out, IP. All right. Forward. Okay. So let's back it up. Control-Shift-R. Okay, so 12. Ping. All right, so we're sending that. So this is request 2. Okay, forward. Where's the request back? I hit Control-Shift-R. P12. Right. Okay. So here's all that. Let me maximize that. Come on, man. Here we go. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you see the max length 3 here. You can change that to 100. Raw, just make it raw. There we go. Well, I'm going to back it up here again and give this another shot. Okay. So we go to intercept. Okay. Quest attributes. Nope. What am I missing? Why is that not where it should be? Oh, that's fucking detect portal again. Okay. Okay, why am I not seeing? Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, okay. The detect portal stuff is just getting on my damn nerves. Yeah, when I get done with this, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to turn all that shit off. I've got everything set up, right? Intercept, yes. Content length, yeah. Okay. Why am I not seeing the request back? Why can I not edit this? Right. Okay, so that's the request. Yeah. So response coming back is here. Try changing the type. That's not. Let's see. Yeah, see, I can't even edit that. I mean, ideally, I would just send it to repeater and I could make the changes in there. Right. So here I would change it to. I would change it there. Nope. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna have to go through Zap separately because again, I'm not aware of that. I'm gonna have to go back to some of this stuff and do it again. How much more of this we got? Let me go poke around, look through this. Repeating requests. Yep. it is obvious that I need to go back and dust off some of my old crotchety burp suite skills. So, um, oh, hey, YTT Retro. Hope you're doing all right. Hope everything is better for you today. YTT had mentioned some things on Twitter had happened to her and her pets and her children, and hope everything is better for them. And that they're all at home right now recovering, I hope. So yeah, I'm gonna have to poke around through some of this. There's a fair bit that I've forgotten that probably because I needed to make room for some TPM stuff. So excuse me, teacher, my brain is full. So I think we'll be back tomorrow. I want to say we'll definitely go through this, and I'll have some more information. I'm going to be playing around with this tonight, so I'll be taking copious amounts of screenshots for the examples that that I did, and I'm going to get used to using Zap, I think. So we'll see what happens with that. So any other questions before we go? Otherwise, there was a lot of good links that were put out today. I hope people have found them valuable, and I'd like to thank execs. I'd like to thank Dark Spider 4, Orthodox, Art Rob, Hades.exe, Sec HVN, Poppet, and Noe Melody. Yeah, those are all of our new followers here. Thanks for that. And we'll be back tomorrow. If not talking about this, then it'll be just me and Mr. Betcher or somebody just kind of riffing, or we're gonna play it by ear on that. So hope everyone has a good rest of their day, and stay safe, and have a great rest of your day. And thank you. All right, have a good one. Bye.